Well, I believe that I know most everyone here, but for those who have not had the chance to meet, my name is John Highbush, and I have the honor of being the Executive Director of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation. And tonight, I also have the honor of hosting, along with one of our foundation's trustees, Governor Pete Wilson, Governor, and please stand, Governor. I want you. Of course, our state's former First Lady, Gail. Great to have you here. So this is a special occasion. It's an occasion that doesn't happen around here very often. In fact, I know it is safe to say that it's quite rare. You see, the newly renovated Reagan Museum that you're in, while quite large, in fact, it's the largest presidential museum in the United States, has an extremely important challenge and only so much square footage in which to accomplish it. So the challenge is this: how does one organization and a group of supporters like we have here tonight properly pay homage in a limited amount of space to such a great president with a lifetime of incredible achievements to look back on? It was a difficult task for our board of trustees, for the staff, for our designers, to pick and choose how best to tell the story of Ronald Reagan. Well, let me tell you, it is also a difficult task to determine what great names to associate with President Reagan once you're inside these doors. There are many to choose from. As you walk through our galleries, you'll see on various plaques the names of several who worked alongside the president, those who helped build and support this library, all over many years. And it's these people that made this a shining city on the hill and made our country a shining city on the hill. You'll find cabinet secretary names like George Shultz, who was Secretary of State under Ronald Reagan, Drew Lewis, who was Secretary of Transportation. And then you'll find also great names of iconic companies like General Electric and Marriott that have pitched in to help make this library happen. And now, in just a few minutes, another great name will be added to that list. Someone who served alongside the president from his seat in Congress and to whom we at the Reagan Library owe a great deal. His name is Elton Gallogly. Now, everyone here is a fan of Elton and his terrific wife, Janice, who I'm so sorry couldn't be with us tonight. So I'm not going to spend what little time I have reciting his biography. But what I'd like to do is pull from it a single pearl, one that is very meaningful to all of us here. So everyone knows that Elton recently retired from serving in Congress, having represented Ventura County and the surrounding areas for 26 years. The library itself is only 22 years old. So from the first day of our existence until the last day he held office just a few weeks ago, the Reagan Library has had the friendship, the support, the kindness, and above all, just plain hard work of our one and only representative in Congress, Elton Gallogly. We've known no one but Elton in Washington for our entire history. And I know I speak for everyone here and many across this land to say that he will be sorely missed in Congress. But he will be remembered here, to be sure. And there are others here tonight that I would especially like to thank for making the gallery named in Elton's honor a reality, a gallery we will soon visit. And they are Ed and Mona Atzinger, Jane and Bert Bachman, Rick Chivaroli, Pat and Jerry Epstein, Howard and Susan Groff, Ralph, James and Myron Harrison, Elizabeth and Jerry Paul, Dean and Kathleen Rasmussen, and Tom and Esther Wachtel. I also want to say thanks to our reception co-sponsors, Frank Visco and Associates. I think Frank couldn't make it tonight. But also First California Bank, represented by C.G. Coombe. Great to have you here. And of course, Elton and Janice's children are here as well. Scott and Shannon Breslow and family. Kevin and Jennifer Gallegly and family. Sean and T. Gallegly and family. Taya Gallegly and family. And Sean and Angelique Payton and family. So now it's my honor to introduce someone we at the Reagan Library and everyone here knows quite well. Like Elton, he served alongside President Reagan and has been a member of the Reagan Foundation Board of Trustees for many years. He is the model of a public servant, having spent his entire life in service to the people of California as a mayor, well, first as a United States Marine, but as a mayor, United States Senator, and governor. We all miss his leadership, both in Washington and in Sacramento, now more than ever. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Governor Pete Wilson.
Thank you. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have the honor tonight of saying a few words about an old dear friend, an ally, someone with whom I have been in the trenches as a mayor and afterwards on Capitol Hill in Washington. And we had the wonderful common pleasure, the experience of being at a time when it was of great importance, not just votes, but advocates for a great man who became famous for a number of wise things that he said, but perhaps one of the most enduring was the simple truth that he coined in just 3 words: peace through strength. Well, the interesting thing is that a great deal of Ronald Reagan's strength was his ability to enlist support simply by being reasonable, by being wise, by telling the truth, by enlisting the kind of support that made it possible at a time when the United States was suffering what some termed malaise, to emerge from that into the kind of country that we all remembered at the end of the Second World War, a strong, confident, generous nation. And one of those who helped him consistently in times when not everyone was up to the job was Elton Gallogly. And they were much alike. Neither shrank from tough issues. To the contrary, I'm sure that they made life stressful for their staffs by not shrinking. But that's to be admired, and so it is altogether fitting that we should be honoring Elton tonight for 30 plus years. What was it, 33 altogether? One more than I had. God, I thought I'd been in forever. So did most of my constituents. But tonight we honor a man who was unfailing, both in the wisdom and in the concern that he had for the public's best interest, and found himself in alliance with the president, whose views he shared. And, well, I will just put it this way. It was a great comfort to a freshman senator to be able to go across to the House and find Elton Gallogly, who always was cheerful and optimistic. He always was confident that somehow right would triumph, even a couple of times when it didn't. But he was a very gutsy, very, very good man, a very good legislator, a real model for what members of Congress ought to be. But we are here tonight because he had a special distinction that allowed us to benefit from all those sterling qualities. He was, as you have heard from John, the congressman who represented the Simi Valley and the site of this library, this museum, this receptacle of remarkable memories, records of great triumph. And perhaps no one has said it any better than someone who would very much like to be with us tonight but cannot be, and that is the lady who continues to keep that flame burning. She is, to say the least, an activist in the cause, the mission of this museum, this library. Nancy Reagan has brought enormous energy that exemplifies the love and the strength of the partnership that she had through those years of marriage with the president. She had something very good to say about the man we're celebrating tonight. This is a message that she made, a statement that she made when news came that Elton was not going to make it 34 years. He was content with 33. This is a quote from that statement. Beginning in the late 1980s, when the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library was proposed to be in Simi Valley, and every day since, Elton Gallogly has been the most loyal and strongest of supporters. He has been more than our congressman. He has become a friend. I am especially grateful to him for everything that he did to help honor my husband during his centennial year in 2011, from sponsoring the original centennial legislation to representing the United States at the events celebrating Ronald Reagan's 100th birthday in Europe. Elton's service to the city of Simi Valley, to the state of California, and to our nation has been remarkable and selfless. And I send my best wishes to him and to Janice on his retirement. You can see it runs in the family. Ronald Reagan wasn't the only one with a way with words. But what she said is absolutely true. It is not overstated. And so we are right to be here in this place, paying our respects, giving our thanks to this man who has so richly earned them over the 33 years that we are celebrating tonight. The only sad occasion, the only sad note, I should say, is that Janice is not here. She's got the flu. And so we will have to convey to her at another time the warmth of this meeting tonight. And there is one more person who really should be heard from. Gail and I were privileged to go on that centennial tour. We were with Janice and Elton in Poland, in Hungary, in the Czech Republic, and finally in London. And the tribute that Nancy paid him is absolutely accurate. He not only was the one who was the driving force behind the legislation that set up the tour and was there at all stops representing not just his district, but the man who was so special from it. And it was a great tour. And I will simply say this. Anyone who has any skepticism, and there were a few, about what Ronald Reagan accomplished in terms of foreign policy should have been on that trip. because in each one of the former captive nations, it was clear beyond any doubt, if not to visitors, certainly to those who were the liberated inhabitants of those formerly captive nations, why it was that at the time that we were celebrating Ronald Reagan's 100th birthday, they were living in freedom. There was no doubt in their minds. It was because of Ronald Reagan. So I would say that it was, by the way, one of the most wonderful experiences that Gail and I have had. And it was heightened by the man who was quarterbacking it. But it seems only appropriate that the last speaker before we call on Elton for his response is the gentleman whom I'm about to introduce now. Are you ready?
Good evening. Nancy and I wish we could be with you tonight to honor our friend Elton Gallogly. I understand that you've gathered in Oxnard to support a man who has done so much for our entire community. I say our because Nancy and I do feel like a part of your community. As most of you probably know, we've been spending quite a bit of time in Ventura County, an area that is special to both of us. Every time we visit that incredible library, we're reminded of the splendor of the area. In every direction, we're surrounded by God's beautiful handiwork. Several other presidents have built their libraries near their birthplaces, but I wanted this library to be built in an area where I had chosen to spend much of my life. Since we first broke ground in 1988, we have felt welcome there, and that is because of people like you. We've had the pleasure of getting to know some of you and look forward to getting to know many more of you in the years ahead. One person who has been supportive of our efforts for a long time is Elton Gallogly. He has been a friendly neighbor and has worked to bring prosperity to the area, which he values greatly. For more than 25 years, Elton and his wife Janice have made their home in Ventura County. They've raised their children there and have been active members of the community. During those 25 years, Elton built a successful business by always adhering to very basic and common sense rules of life. Don't spend more than you take in, and treat others as you want to be treated. He served on the city council, then as mayor, and has been serving in the U.S. House of Representatives since 1986. Over the years, he has stood by me and President Bush and has worked overtime fighting against excessive and wasteful government spending. He has fought many battles and remained tough on issues he believes in. But through all the tough fights in Washington, Elton has never forgotten the people who elected him. He cares about you and about your future. Elton feels like I do about this area. He is struck by the peaceful beauty of this special part of our state. He's out there working for the people of this community, and I hope you'll do all you can to see to it that he returns to Washington to continue fighting for you. Nancy joins me in sending our warmest wishes to all of you. We hope to see you again soon at or around the library. You're always welcome there. Thank you, and God bless you.
You can't have someone making a better pitch for you than that. Okay, Elton, you're on.
Wow, how do you follow that? I thought for a second I was going to get Howard Berman's endorsement. It's good to have you here, Howard. You know, it's once you retire, you have a little more time to think about things and rethink about things, and you tend to reminisce a little bit. There are a couple folks in here almost as old as I am. Not many, but a few, and I'm sure you understand what I'm referring to. 45 years ago, the president was talking about 25 years ago, but that was 20 years ago. So 45 years ago, when we moved to Ventura County, never in my wildest dream did I ever think that I would be running for public office. I wanted to be a small businessman. It was my objective. And with the help of a great wife, I had very good success with that. On that note, I just want to say, if there's anyone on the planet that wanted to be here tonight more than me, it was Janice. In all the years we've been together, I've never seen her so ill that she couldn't make an event. In fact, we're thinking about 5 years ago when she pulled a weed in the backyard, as she always loved to work in the yard, fell down the hill, broke her ankle, was in a cast from her foot to her knee, and 3 days later was hiking in Glacier National Park. So you know it had to be pretty serious for her not to be here tonight, and we do have a video, so we'll be sharing it, but everyone in this room misses you. We moved, as I said, to Simi Valley 45 years ago. That was 1967. In 1966, the year before I moved to Simi Valley, there was an election. It was the first election that I was able to participate in, because at that time you had to be 21 years old, and I didn't quite make the 1964 cut, but 1966 was my first election. The first check I ever made on any ballot was voting for Ronald Reagan for governor of California. Little did I know that I one day would have a chance to meet Ronald Reagan. And the years passed, and I was a small business guy, a real estate man in this community, and there was some turmoil in our city. And I, for some of you that know me a little better than some of the others, know that sometimes I could express myself maybe a little with louder octaves than maybe was appropriate. And people came to me and said, Elton, instead of talking about this, why don't you do something about it and run for office? So it was kind of a dare. And, oh, okay, I will. Never in my wildest dream ever thinking I would be elected. Well, lo and behold, 1979 I was elected. 1980 I was made mayor of this great city. And 1982 there was an invitation that came to City Hall. And I'm not really quite sure why I was asked. There were a series of mayors across the nation that was asked to go to Washington, D.C. and meet with President Reagan with a group of mayors from municipalities across the country. Well, I don't have to tell you, I didn't take a long time thinking about what I was going to put on the RSVP. And so I went, and it was quite an experience. It was my first trip to Washington, D.C. And while I was there, you know, we talk a lot about bugs going around and so on and so forth, and I caught a little bug, and it wasn't until a few days later that someone explained to me, diagnosed the bug as Potomac fever. Actually, these are true stories, folks. You can't make this stuff up. And lo and behold, 4 years later, I was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. 1986, 87 sworn in. And a little after that, a call came to the office one morning, and it was from the White House, and my scheduler came in and said, the White House called and said the president had asked if you'd like to ride home on Air Force One. Since the president, when he would go to Santa Barbara for his retreat, they always landed Air Force One at Magoo here in Camarillo, and then he would take Marine One on up to Santa Barbara. Well, I don't have to tell you, I didn't have to really scrutinize my schedule really well. I was excited about it. That was 1987, and a friendship evolved, and as Paul Harvey would say, the rest is history. It's been an incredible journey, one that I have so many people to be grateful to, most of them in this room. The support, both from a financial standpoint, but also from counsel, guidance, and ongoing encouragement to do what we believed in, and to have the good fortune of being able to serve 13 terms. I miss some of it and will continue to miss it, but I think I made the right decision. And when I think about, someone asked me this afternoon, did you ever dream that this would happen? With this incredible honor, this incredibly humbling honor. And it reminded me, I just took a step back and it made me think for a minute about how many people in here play golf? Anyone ever heard of Bubba Watson? Okay, Bubba Watson, very, very humble, kind of guy that everybody kind of rooted for, and he's been playing the tour for several years and never quite won the tournament. He was 2, number 3, number 4, always in contention. But the guy people were pulling for. And last year, just a few months ago, I was watching Sunday afternoon golf, and Bubba Watson won his first major tournament. And you know how these sports reporters are. They stick the mic in front of him and said, well, is this anything like you dreamed it would be like? And he said, I never got to this part in my dream. And it's kind of how I feel. John Highbush, the foundation, I thank you for the confidence and for the honor you bestowed on me. Also, and most importantly, the First Lady, Nancy Reagan. Janice has told you this, John, and so many other folks. The wife of a member is not always glamorous. Janice Berman would probably attest to that, wouldn't you, Janice? And are really the unsung heroes. And Janice said, you know, of all the things, and when we made the decision that we were going to retire, she said, you know, I'm ready and I'm excited for our next chapter. But she says, what does that mean with the Reagan Library? And I said, well, honey, we've enjoyed a great life and shared a lot of fun times at the library. She says, you know, of all the things that we've had, nothing will ever trump those dinners at the Reagan Library. Well, it's pretty close to it, John. To my family, to Kevin and to Sean and to Sean and to Shannon, I'm blessed to have 10 grandchildren here tonight. Would you please stand up? Over here we have Kevin's 3 beautiful girls, Sammy, Bethy, and Emma. And right there at the same table, my son Sean, who just moved here after 15 years in Europe, relocated in California with Adrian and Lucas. And where's Sean? Sean? Okay, and where are the boys? Oh, well, Savannah isn't here, our oldest. She's dancing today, but we have Tanner and Peyton. Wave, guys. And then we have 2 others, the little quiet one here, the blonde, Presley and Peyton. This is what it's all about. This is what we all work for. and I've been very blessed. I value each and every one of your friendships. We could talk about stories all night, and I reminisce about them all the time. But you've all played a role. This honor would have never happened without you. It certainly would have never happened without Janice. I'm only sorry that I've never seen her this sick before, but she's going to be fine. But this one's for you, Janice. God bless you all.
Well, we're about to launch into part 2 of our program. I'm going to ask you to follow me through the museum and to the Gallegly exhibit in just a minute. Before I do, I wanted to say I apologize. I didn't see Congressman Berman come in. It's an honor to have you here, Congressman. After, I think, 30 years in the House, Congressman, so he spent 30 years in the House diligently representing his districts and all those.
The difference was Elton retired, I wasn't retired.
Well, I just want you to know, Congressman, you are welcome here to those dinners that Elton goes to as well, so thank you so much for coming. So now I'm going to make a beeline straight through there. If you could follow me, we're going to go, and Elton's going to unveil the plaque in his honor. Well, we won't be having a lot of speeches here. We'll be doing more doing than talking. But you are in what is the future Elton Gallogly Gallery. Say that 5 times fast. I say future because it's not that gallery until our good friend Elton here unveils it. And like you say, Elton, I wish Janice were here to unveil it with you. I'd like to give you the choice to unveil it with all these grandkids or by yourself, whatever way you'd like to do it. And I'll just, after you pull this cover off of the plaque for everyone to see, some of you are a distance from the plaque, so I'll make sure I read the precise wording that's on it so you know what it says. But Elton, all the words said in there are absolutely true. We cannot thank you enough for all your service in Congress. And as Governor Wilson said, and Mrs. Reagan personally felt this is a fitting way to thank you, so we cannot thank you enough.
Take your grandchildren over?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I don't often have all of them.
No.
Get them over. Okay.
Where are the grandkids?
Where are we? Is this?
Yeah, you'll just lift that off of there.
Okay.
Okay.
Lukey and Adrian, you want to come over and help me? I'm going to have to rebuild the Sammy, Peyton, Tanner, Landon, Emma. Oh, my goodness. Bethy. Should have done it alphabetically. She was a little worried. Bethy, look at all my helpers.
There we go.
1, 2.
All right, set it down. There you are. I'd like to read what's on the plaque for you. It says, "The Peace Through Strength, Rebuilding the Armed Forces Gallery is dedicated in honor of the Honorable Elton W. Gallogly, U.S. House of Representatives from 1987 to 2013, a patriot, a protector of our freedom, and a champion of American exceptionalism." Elton, thank you very much. Elton, I think we want to get a number of photographs of you and,
Okay.
and folks that'd like a picture of you with next to the plaque.
Can I get Jane?
Yeah. Victoria, you take charge.
No,
How's that? Make sure we get the box.
big smiles, everyone.